myself, just kind of mixing it up. If I get lazy, maybe just let the AI come up with some things. But definitely not doing the AI voice. This is my real voice. And like I said, I'll probably be changing it from time to time. I might do different characters, different. So you'll hear a slight variation in my voice, probably sometimes too. I'm going to try to keep my voice as maintain the same one for each story at least, and not try to vary too much inside the same story. So, anyways, any further ado, this is called The Echoes of Tomorrow. Chapter 1, The Missing Report. It was late September when Evelyn Clark, investigative journalist for the Morning Post, received a mysterious tip that would unravel a conspiracy much larger than anything she had ever covered. The message was short, cryptic, and seemingly insignificant. The truth is buried in the data. Follow the whispers in the shadows. Trust no one. At first, Evelyn assumed it was one of the countless anonymous tips she received every week. But something about this one struck her. It wasn't the phrasing, but the urgency of it. She had been investigating a series of unusual stock market anomalies linked to major tech companies and their growing influence over political decisions. Could this tip be connected to her work? Evelyn had always been a meticulous reporter, digging deeper than most even dared. For weeks, she had been tracking the movements of a controversial tech conglomerate, Voxen Technologies, and its recent seemingly strange involvement in global politics. Their rapid rise to power was accompanied by subtle but alarming shifts in government policies. Now it appeared that something bigger was afoot. She glanced at her notes. The thread she had been pulling on had led her to one pivotal point, a missing government report detailing an unprecedented collaboration between Voxen and certain unnamed politicians. The report was gone, disappeared from the archives just days before she was set to access it. Her heart raced. If that report existed, it could be the key to exposing a new global power structure, a corporate takeover dressed as progressive politics. But without it, Evelyn was stuck in a maze of half-truths, misdirection, and dead ends. It was time to dig deeper. Chapter 2, The Source. The tip had led Evelyn to a small, inconspicuous coffee shop in the corner of the city. As she stepped inside, she scanned the room, the usual mix of laptop-tapping freelancers and quiet businessmen, all glued to their screens. But in the far corner, an old man sat alone, a trench coat draped over his chair, his face partially obscured by a newspaper. He was waiting for her. Evelyn could feel it. She walked over, slid into the chair opposite him, and said nothing. The man lowered his paper and peered at her with sharp, calculating eyes. He said, "I suppose you've been following the breadcrumbs, then." "Who are you?" Evelyn asked, her voice steady despite the nerves crawling up her spine. "A friend," he replied cryptically. "Or perhaps I should say a warning. You've stumbled onto something much bigger than you think. This isn't just about a missing report. It's about controlling the narrative of the future." He handed her a flash drive. "Everything you need is on here. The report, the emails, the connections, Voxen's entire web. But tread carefully, Miss Clark. The moment you dig into this, you will be hunted, not just by the people you're up against, but by those you think you can trust." Evelyn's fingers hovered over the drive, a mixture of curiosity and fear flooding her chest. But she didn't hesitate. She slid the drive into her bag. Chapter 3, The Data Unveiled. That night, in the solitude of her apartment, Evelyn plugged the flash drive into her laptop. What she found was a labyrinth of encrypted files, email chains between high-ranking government officials and Voxen executives, and even secret memos that leaked the company to global instability currently brewing, a wave of social unrest fueled by misinformation campaigns and tech monopolies. One file, titled Project Tomorrow, caught her eye. As she opened it, the words blurred at first. But then, as the encryption slowly unraveled, Evelyn realized the scale of this conspiracy. It wasn't just about politics, it was about control. Control over public opinion, the economy, the future itself. The report detailed a covert plan by Voxen to launch a new AI system that could predict and manipulate not just economic trends, but people's behaviors and desires. It was predictive policing. It was predictive policing, social scoring, and surveillance wrapped into one terrifying package. What chilled Evelyn most was the realization that this technology wasn't just being tested in one country, it was already being used in several, all under the guise of Global Initiative for Public Welfare. As Evelyn pieced it together, the implications were very clear. Voxen wasn't just a tech company. It was a shadow government, pulling strings behind the scenes, shaping the world to fit its vision. Chapter 4: The Pursuit. Evelyn knew she couldn't take this information to her editor. She couldn't trust anyone anymore. The very people who should be allies in exposing corruption were in all likelihood complicit. If she published it, she'd be discredited, labeled a conspiracy theorist. The tech company's reach was too vast. She had no choice but to go underground. She contacted her old mentor, Isaac Graves, a former journalist turned whistleblower. Isaac had vanished from the public eye years after exposing a major scandal involving another corporation. He had taught her everything she knew about investigative reporting, and perhaps more importantly, about survival. Isaac met her in a remote location, his face grizzled from years of living off the grid. "So, you found the ghost," he said, after hearing her story. "How do you know about them?" Isaac smiled grimly. "Because I've been hunted by them for years. Voxen's reach is long, too long." Chapter 5. As Evelyn and Isaac delved deeper into the conspiracy, things began to spiral out of control. The more they uncovered, the more they realized they were being watched. They were no longer just uncovering a story, they were part of it. One day, as Evelyn walked home, she noticed a black car parked across the street. It hadn't been there before. A chill ran down her spine as she quickened her pace. She ducked into a nearby alleyway, heart racing, knowing that the shadows had finally caught up with her. Isaac's warning echoed in her mind. They'll come for you when you get too close to the truth. But she wasn't backing down. She had a duty to the truth, and the world deserved to know what Voxen was doing. Chapter 6: The Revelation. With the help of Isaac, Evelyn managed to leak the data to a network of underground hackers who specialized in exposing corporate corruption. Within hours, the information went viral. The world's media exploded in outrage, and governments scrambled to respond. Voxen's carefully constructed empire began to unravel as truth spilled into the open. But Evelyn knew this wasn't the end. The battle for control had only just begun. The conspiracy that she had uncovered was just the tip of the iceberg. As the smoke cleared, a new, darker reality emerged. The war for humanity's future was being fought in the shadows, and those in power were willing to do anything to keep control. Evelyn closed her laptop, knowing that her story wasn't finished. She had given the world a glimpse of the truth, but the story was far from over. The real question was whether the world could wake up in time, or if the machines had already won. Epilogue: The Cost of the Truth. Months later, Evelyn stood before a small crowd in a dingy conference room preparing to give her final report on Voxen and the global conspiracy. Her work had earned her a reputation, but it had also cost her more than she could have imagined. She looked out at the crowd, knowing that her words might be the last thing many of them would ever hear. She wasn't sure who was listening, or still listening, but she was certain of one thing. The echoes of tomorrow would always reverberate from the choices we make today. And the truth, it was never free. The end.